Hey there, folks, buckle up because I'm about to take you on one heck of a ride. A true story that'll make you laugh, grit your teeth, and maybe even cheer by the end. The time I inherited my great-grandpa's old farmhouse in Willow Creek, Tennessee, and ended up in a showdown with the neighborhood's resident tyrant, Brenda Walsh, the queen bee of the local HOA. Picture this. I'm standing on a porch that creaks like it's got stories to tell, staring out at 5 acres of wildflowers and ancient hickory trees, feeling like I've just been handed a slice of freedom, a place where my family's roots run deep, untouched by the cookie-cutter suburbs creeping in around it. But Brenda? Oh, she had other plans, and let me tell you, she didn't just want me to join her little HOA empire, she wanted to break me. It all started when I rolled into town, still dusty from the drive, ready to breathe life back into the old Harper homestead. This place wasn't just a house. It was a legacy. My great-grandpa built it with his own hands, raised a family here, and kept it free from the clutches of any HOA, even as the neighborhood around it turned into a sea of manicured lawns and identical mailboxes. I was barely unpacked when Brenda showed up, pulling into my gravel driveway in a shiny black SUV, stepping out in heels that looked like they'd never met a dirt road. "I'm Brenda Walsh," she said, flashing a smile so fake it could have been shrink-wrapped, president of the Willow Creek Homeowners Association, here to welcome you to the community. Her handshake was limp, her clipboard gleaming like a weapon. "We'd love for you to join us," she went on, her voice all syrup and steel. "Keep things uniform, you know." I kept it polite but firm. "Thanks, Brenda, but this land's been in my family for a century, never been part of the HOA, and I'm keeping it that way." Her smile twitched, just for a second, and I swear I saw a glint in her eye that said, "Game on." At first, it was petty stuff, a note on my door about unkempt shrubbery, even though all I'd done was pull a few weeds. Then my mailbox vanished, replaced with a flyer about HOA-approved designs. I'd find my trash cans dragged halfway down the block with a sticky note about proper containment. Annoying, sure, but I was too busy patching the roof and coaxing my grandma's rose garden back to life to care much. This place was my sanctuary, you know? Every creaky floorboard, every chipped teacup in the cupboard felt like a piece of my history, and I wasn't about to let Brenda's clipboard ruin that. But then things got weird, and I mean weird. One night, I woke up to this creepy rustling outside, like 1,000 tiny feet scrambling in the dark. I grabbed a flashlight, heart pounding, and stepped onto the porch. Rats, dozens of them, swarming my yard, chewing through my garden fence, tearing up the cushions on my porch swing. By morning, my roses were toast, my shed's wiring was a mess, and the whole place reeked of sabotage. I called in Pete, a local exterminator with a beard like a Viking and a no-nonsense vibe. He poked around, found a bait box tucked under my fence, and looked me dead in the eye. "This ain't natural, Sarah," he said, holding up the evidence. "Someone wanted these critters here." My stomach dropped. Brenda's smug face flashed in my mind, her voice from our first meeting echoing. Everyone benefits when we follow the rules. This wasn't just petty anymore, this was war. I wasn't about to let her scare me off my land, so I got to work. I ordered a set of motion-activated cameras, the kind hunters use, and set them up around the property, every corner, every gate, no blind spots. If Brenda or her minions stepped foot on my land again, I'd have them on tape. 2 nights later, my phone pinged at 3 a.m. I checked the camera feed, and there they were, 4 shadowy figures creeping along my fence line, carrying boxes and scattering something in the grass. My heart raced as I zoomed in. Brenda was front and center, clipboard under her arm, gesturing like a general directing troops. They were dumping more bait, and get this, releasing live rats from cages. I called the cops, hands shaking, but by the time they showed up, the culprits were gone. The bait boxes were still there, though, and my cameras had caught every second. I marched over to Brenda's house the next morning, footage burning a hole in my pocket. She answered the door in a silk robe, sipping coffee like she didn't have a care in the world. "Sarah, what a surprise," she cooed, but I cut her off. "Cut the crap, Brenda. I've got you on video, you and your rat army." Her face barely flinched, but her eyes went cold. "Oh, honey," she said, leaning in close, "you really should invest in pest control. Rats are such a nuisance." I wanted to scream, but I held it together. She declared war, and I was ready to fight dirty. I took the footage to my lawyer, a guy named Tom who'd grown up in Willow Creek and knew how HOAs could twist a community into knots. He watched the videos, whistled low, and said, "We've got her, Sarah. This is gold." We built a case, brick by brick, the footage, Pete's testimony, every nasty note Brenda had left on my door. I kept my cameras rolling, and sure enough, Brenda's crew struck again, bolder this time, releasing more rats and even slashing my garden hose for good measure. Each time, I added the footage to my file, my anger turning into something sharper, more focused. But Brenda wasn't just coming for me anymore. She started spreading lies around town, said I was a troublemaker, that my shabby farmhouse was dragging down property values. Neighbors I'd never met started giving me the side eye at the grocery store, and I felt like an outsider in my hometown. It stung, I won't lie, but then something shifted. A few neighbors like Mrs. Carter, who had been fined for planting non-approved tulips, started whispering their own stories about Brenda's reign of terror. She made me rip out my rose trellis, Mrs. Carter confessed one day, her voice trembling. Said it wasn't aesthetic. Slowly, I realized I wasn't alone. The courtroom was packed the day we faced off. Brenda strutted in, all polished nails and perfect hair, but I could see the cracks, a nervous glance, a too tight grip on her clipboard. Tom laid out our case like a prosecutor in a movie, showing the jury clip after clip of Brenda's midnight rat raids. The room gasped when he held up one of her bait boxes, its label matching the pest control supplies she'd bought with HOA funds meant for streetlights, not sabotage. Pete took the stand, explaining how the infestation was no accident, and Mrs. Carter, bless her, told the jury how Brenda had bullied her for years. When it was Brenda's turn to testify, she fumbled, dodging questions about why she was on my property at 2 a.m. with a cage full of rats. "I was inspecting the neighborhood," she stammered, and the jury wasn't buying it. The final nail? A paper trail showing she'd funneled HOA money into her little vendetta. The judge didn't hesitate. "Brenda Walsh," he said, voice like gravel, "you're guilty of trespassing, property damage, and embezzlement. 5 years in prison, full restitution." As the gavel fell, Brenda's face went white, her clipboard slipping to the floor. I watched her get cuffed, and for the first time in months, I breathed easy. After the trial, Willow Creek changed. The HOA collapsed like a house of cards, its rules scrapped, its meetings canceled. Neighbors started talking again, not out of fear, but because they wanted to. We had cookouts, cleaned up the park together, and for the first time, I felt like I belonged. I used the restitution money to fix up the farmhouse, new wiring, fresh paint, and a garden that'd make my grandma proud. One evening, as I sat on the porch with a cold lemonade, watching fireflies dance under the hickory trees, I felt whole. This land, this legacy, was mine, and no one could take it away. But here's the thing, and I want to hear your take on this. Brenda wasn't born a villain. She was just a woman who let power go to her head, who thought control was the same as community. Could she have been different if someone had stood up to her sooner? Or was she always going to burn it all down? Drop a comment. Tell me what you think. Have you ever dealt with a Brenda in your life? How'd you handle it? Hit that like button if you're glad she got what was coming, and subscribe for more stories about real people fighting for what's right. I'll see you in the next one.